was this. You have a very impressive and interesting background. What was your personal epiphany when you became aware of all the things that were wrong in the foreign and defense policy establishment in this country? I mean, given that your background originally was in the Pentagon, and now you're apparently now aware of numerous defects and flaws in the whole defense procurement system and the whole defense apparatus. I was just curious, what was the development of your personal epiphany in the subject? Thanks.
That's a good question. I have to think back. Obviously, I was very wet behind the ears when I arrived at the Pentagon, and was very impressed with the task at hand. I and a small group of guys that were called the Whiz Kids were supposed to be advising the Secretary of Defense on where we were spending too much money and where we were spending too little money and where we were getting our money's worth and that kind of thing. So I took that as a very serious charge. I mean, I still do. And it didn't take very long. And by the way, interestingly enough, the people who most disabused me of my idealism with respect to the fact that most defense expenditures were well-intentioned were some pretty grizzled combat veterans, both ground guys, Army guys, and some pilots who talked about how little the higher-ups cared for them and for their welfare. I'd say the seminal incident was a very odd, minor thing. This was during the Vietnam War, and I was trying hard to stay away from Vietnam issues because I was not in sympathy. But I was analyzing the air-to-air combat that was taking place in the war, and it became very clear that the F-4 airplane was being shot down far more than it should be by North Korean MiGs. And it turned out the reason was smoke. The engine smoked. It's extremely dangerous for the pilot because it gives away his position to like 30 miles or more. Normally, a jet airplane is hard to see at 5 miles, especially a smallish fighter. But the F-4 was the only fighter in the theater that smoked. So that made F-4 pilots an instant target. Any MiG-21 up in the air, if they saw a smoke trail way beyond where they could see the airplane, bingo. They knew it was an American, they knew it was an F-4, and they could, maneuver to sneak up its tail and shoot it down unawares. So we were losing far more pilots than we needed. And so I got exercised and got into it. It turned out the engine manufacturer offered a kit for $75,000 an engine that would cure the smoke. We could not sell it. Nobody wanted to save the lives of those pilots. That was a real turning point for me.